Jimmy is a man of simple tastes, or should I say that he eats the exact same things that he did when he was a kid? It's an interesting journey. It's a trip down memory lane with Jimmy and everything that he enjoyed as a child. I hope that you please enjoy this bird's nest of delight with Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, thank you for joining me in the Fantasy Restaurant today.
I'm happy to be here.
All right. So the premise of the Fantasy Restaurant is I'm going to ask you your favorite drink, appetizer, main, side, dessert. This could be something that you've had in the past. Maybe a family member made it. Maybe something you make yourself. Maybe you had it at a restaurant. Or, this could be something off of a movie that you saw and it just looked really appetizing. You want to try it, right? So this doesn't have to make any sense. You don't have to pair anything correctly. The right color wine doesn't have to go with your main dish. So don't worry about that stuff.
You're right about that, because I don't do either one of those. I'm gonna be your worst fantasy restaurant ever.
All right, man. Well, what do you want to drink? What do you want to start with?
Can I start with a red can Coca-Cola?
Red can of Coca-Cola.
How about that? It's the 7.5 fluid ounce size nowadays, because it just gets too warm. Those last 4 ounces from a regular 12-ounce Coke. So everything but breakfast, I'd have a Coke with, And I learned how to drink coffee just recently.
Oh.
Learned how to make coffee just recently.
Well, it's not that complicated a process. So this Coke, are you pouring this on ice, or you just want it straight out of a can?
Straight out of that can, that little red can, and it's better when it's iced cold rather than air cold. You know what I mean? Have you ever had a drink like that? Any drink, whether it's beer or Coke or water, is better iced cold than air cold. But I don't. My ice maker, my refrigerator doesn't work. So I just have to.
All right. Well, in the fantasy restaurant, you could have a drink that never gets warm, so you could have it any size you want, man.
Yeah. Well, that's a good enough portion for me right there, and people always tell me about calories and caffeine and all that stuff, So I'm just going to drink it for the taste, and I've had that taste in my mouth for 60 years now plus.
Well, I'm from Central Texas, so that's Dr. Pepper country. I grew up in Waco, which is the home of Dr. Pepper. So so that's my poison of choice.
Well, believe it or not, for 4 months of my life, I lived in Irving, Texas.
Did you?
I did an internship for college at the Irving, Texas YMCA in 1979. Cowboys were world champs, Super Bowl champs, and Dallas was Big D on the TV.
Well, Irving.
Right there, living between Dallas and Irving, and had I had 2 lighted football fields there and about 45 youth tackle football teams at the YMCA, Irving, Texas YMCA.
Man, that sounds busy. That sounds very busy. To me, that feels like North Texas. You might as well be in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and like we're talking about today, Memphis is closer to Dallas than Dallas is to El Paso. So Texas really gets spread out. And in fact, Bristol, which is near me up here in Knoxville, is closer to Canada than it is to Memphis. So our country does get spread out, but y'all really get spread out and flat in Texas, more so than here in Tennessee.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're shaped all weird. It's like we're really wide, we're really tall, but kind of that weird shape sort of misleads.
Speaking of shapes, Tennessee is the only state that had a license plate in the shape of its state.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You can see how Tennessee it fits, it's like what, rectangular, it's a parallelogram, I guess, or something. Imagine Texas being a license plate.
That'd be a nightmare.
You take it all back to your car, or Florida, or something like that. So Tennessee was the only state to ever have that's what chick went off my list here of things I'm going to tell you today.
Done. All right. Well, we got us a drink. Let's. So in this restaurant, especially, I feel most adventurous in the appetizer portion, right? Because for me, it's something small, and I can be, as crazy as I want. And if I don't like it, no big deal. I've still got my main dish coming. So, what are you thinking about for appetizer?
Well, I strike out again, of course, because my appetizer for you is going to be red Jello.
Red Jello, I love it.
And it started way back in the 50s when our dad to take our family to the Mark Twain cafeteria. And I got to get red Jello. There was blue and green Jello, but and to this day, when I go I intentionally find a cafeteria here in Knoxville, S&S cafeteria, that has red Jello. And I reward myself with little cubed up red Jello. In fact, this last month, I bought a box of red Jello in a grocery store, and somehow I'm gonna get the courage up to make some red Jello. That's not the best. I mean, that's not tapas food and all sorts of other entrees you get in fancy restaurants all around, or non-fancy restaurants all around. But red Jello is my thing.
Is
man.
red Jello your preference, or is that just a nostalgia thing, or is there a flavor you like better?
Both.
Oh.
Both. I just want to brag that I like red Jello. I don't know what.
Well, to me, and this is very controversial, to me, the superior Jello flavor is lime, the green lime.
It's a rainbow world out there, isn't it?
Is that your way of saying there's all kinds of weirdos out there?
Well, lime Jello. Gosh, I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Oh, it's delicious.
I've seen green and blue.
You know what's weird about it is, to me, it tastes the way Pine Sol smells. Like, I wish I could eat Pine Sol. I'm pretty sure that'd be bad for you.
Well, go put some Pine Sol in your freezer, then thaw it out and
see what happens.
Blame me.
Well, that's my coronavirus cure right there.
There
See my special Jello. All right, so red Jello. Do you ever get adventurous and put anything in there?
I get in this fantasy restaurant a year because I'm a dull, dumb eater.
No, I love it. I love it. Do you put like fruit cocktail inside of there, or you're just plain red Jello?
No.
You're a purist.
You're purist. No whipped cream or no. I mean, in fact, I tell them at the restaurant, there's been no whipped cream on there. I don't know why. And again, I'm not real domestic. I used to tell people in Memphis, if you find something in my oven, that means somebody else has been there. might be storing money in there or something. Like $2 bills or something. But I know how to boil eggs and toast and make coffee down soup.
Well, you survived this long, so I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, and I only eat twice a day too, mainly because I've altered my sleeping patterns too, so it makes it a different kind of day. I don't have to do anything, just as far as getting up anymore or, getting down and unlocking the facility or, turning the lights on and getting ready for a work day. When you stop doing those things, you go, wow, you're not getting up at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning doing those things anymore. You're going to bed at 5, 6, or 7 o'clock in the morning because you're up all night reading books and working crossword puzzles and stuff like that. It's just a different day.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I got to drive carpool in the morning. That's at 7:25 here. That's why I'm here in Knoxville now. Not to drive carpool, but my family's up here. So.
That's a long way to go to drive carpool.
Yeah. But it was the right thing to do, and that's another story. But let's get back to the food.
Man. Well, there's
to do this warm-up exercise.
All right. There's this interstitial period between the appetizer and the main. I like to call it the bread/salad time. So, are you interested in either of those?
Salad is just a regular old tossed salad with Thousand Island dressing, just as boring as it can be. Is that good? And they got to have the right type of Thousand Island dressing. I don't do it myself. Well, my mother had that little cheat way where you put the mayonnaise down and the ketchup down, and you just stir them together and get fake Thousand Island dressing.
No, I've never done that.
Well, yeah, sometimes I go to this place that has great hamburgers and I can't eat it all, and they're about this big, so I just take the lettuce and tomato off and make my own Thousand Island dressing and eat that as a salad with a fork and knife. And eat the hamburger separate,
Yeah. Making a meal out of a hamburger. I like it. It sounds. I'm picturing you with your pinkies up while you're eating your homemade salad there.
No.
So your tossed salad, are you putting croutons in there? Are you putting sunflower seeds? Are you putting cranberries? What are we talking about?
Well, since I don't make it at home, but whatever, the croutons are okay. I've gone to a salad bar before and I put in the boiled eggs they have in there, and the little cheese, American cheese, I guess, shredded cheese, and croutons. And every once in a while, you might get a cucumber slice, or the cubed ham things. I'm not a gourmet eater at all. What's funny is I got a magazine over here, like the Mental Floss magazine thing. There's a magazine in Memphis that had me one time at a restaurant trying to explain eating some things. It was really funny. I'll go find that book.
No doubt. All right.
No.
So are you a fresh bread kind of guy? Like you like a little bit at your restaurant?
Well, I like roll. Yeah, I like it hot rolls or, and sometimes they'll bring you those little demi loaves, where you cut yourself. And like those coming out warm in butter. I'm a butter guy.
Yeah, me too.
Butter, I can't have enough butter.
Are you honey butter, regular butter, garlic butter? What are we talking about?
No, not garlic, but butter.
Just regular butter.
Yeah, no fanciness to butter.
All right. So in my head, I'm picturing a nice big fluffy, like really yeasty roll, fresh baked. You open it up, smells like a bakery inside, and root.
That's cool. Believe it or not, back in '87 and '88, I ran a kosher bakery in Memphis, the only kosher bakery in Memphis, over in the Pinch District for Jake Shore, the guy, the North End Westies. Did you ever go to North End Westies in Memphis?
I've been to Westies, yeah. Yeah.
Jake, my friend, I worked for him, and I was delivering bread in the '80s.
That's wild.
And I wasn't the guy baking the bread. I was the guy slicing it and packaging it and getting the order set up and then delivering it.
So at the end of that, could you stand to eat bread for a while, or did it not bother you?
It added about 30 pounds to my life.
So you were eating the bread.
You know what I mean? I blame that episode of a year of that working at bakery, because man, when you get, and this was an old oven that was probably 80 years old too, big old rotisserie, huge oven. You could put like 4 pounds, about 30 pans in there at a time of bread. Different kinds of rolls and and sandwich loaf breads and all that, Pullman loaves, and the smell. And see, since it was kosher, we had to wait till after the sun went down on Saturday night. So we were baking after starting about 9 or 10 o'clock up till the sunrise on Saturday, Sundays, on weekends too, and other times of the week too. But particularly the rabbi would come by and get you if you didn't adhere to keep the kosher ordinances there. And you had to drink milk outside.
Interesting.
Like that. You couldn't bring some dairy products in. You couldn't even bring dairy products inside.
Gotcha. Well, I was picturing you're the only guy walking around Memphis with a hip flask full of butter. So you could just get you a little nip of the bread as you're going.
Didn't make any sense at all, I tell you. It's just one of those, again, I've had a lot of odd jobs in my life. I've gotten myself into a lot of odd jobs in my life.
They seem to, that oddity seems to be attracted to you. I think you're magnetic for it.
I can still hear you. I'm going to back up just a second and pick up this. Go ahead.
All
keep
right,
talking.
all right.
You talk.
Well, now we're moving on to the, some controversially, sometimes the most important part of the meal. And I'm going to say the main dish. Right. Some will argue that dessert is the most important part, but I'm going to say the main is. So what are you going to pick for your main?
Well, if I could have anything, be one of those steaks or hamburgers grilled by my father on White Oaks Road in the '60s when we had an outdoor grill. That was just as a family gathering, but it's just as if somebody else grills something for you, not me, because I'd burn it, But the tender love and care put into that, and the joy of doing it, the dad doing the steak and the burger, that type of thing, and that's the one that sticks out to me. That's not going to a restaurant or anything, Right. And then my mother always had the vegetables. We had a farm out in Oakland, Tennessee, about 30 miles from us. My daddy raised horses. He was a doctor that raised horses and showed them as well. And we got to snap beans, and jam up plum preserves in the wintertime. Make the little plastic or whatever that goes around, wax goes around the top, I hated snapping beans with my mom. I spent all the time shooting basketball, but to this day, I love green beans. And then with it, the mashed potatoes and the peas, the green peas. When I can find a place, like over here, there's a grocery store that has a little deli in it. And they have vegetables and meats. And sometimes they have mashed potatoes and peas, and I get to make a bird's nest. When I was a kid, I would make a bird's nest. I'd shape up those mashed potatoes like the nest and put the peas in, and eat. I still, to this day, I'm 68 years old, and I still want to do a bird's nest with my red Jello. And again, it was my mom that got me into that. And also my other dish from her would be spaghetti. If your mother ever made spaghetti, no other spaghetti tastes exactly right compared to that.
Yeah.
Although I have found restaurants in Memphis that have great spaghetti, or in Knoxville, it just doesn't match my mom. It's just a notch below, and that's the taste you always want. And somehow we left out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches too. Oh, we left out breakfast food here in this deal. And I had one of my dad's specialties today for breakfast was toast, butter, and bananas.
Toast, butter, and bananas.
Okay.
How interesting.
You have white toast. You pop it in the toaster. It comes out. You slather it in butter. And then you slice the bananas like, quarter size. And 9 goes to 9, 3 by 3 goes onto the slice of toast. I had to do that. That's not breakfast. It's toast, butter, and bananas. Just like my dad.
I've done almost that same thing, but we always do peanut butter instead of butter.
Well, you can do that too, but not on toast. Peanut butter's better on just.
I don't know, because when you put it on toast, it gets kind of melty. It changes the whole texture of it. The whole experience is a little bit different.
Good for you.
It's surprising.
You see this big old lock in my head right now?
I see it.
Look, and here's the magazine. It was called Spoon Magazine. You see that? All right. And if I can just show you this, here I am, me in my little bow tie. Does that look like I don't know, it's got a little reflection on it.
Oh, I see it just fine.
It ain't great. And he's sitting at the table. That's not a Majestic Grill. You probably went to Majestic Grill when you're in. Look at me. Acting like I was a real connoisseur. You slice Memphis anyway, and we show American Story, the good, bad, and the ugly. Well, that's one of my quotes too. But I was actually featured in a food map. Me of all people, they wanted to come eat at a restaurant and tell them how good it was. Which was great. It was great. He was a friend of mine. But
well, good. It worked out.
Now it's a conflict in my life that I have no clue for food, but somebody featured me in a magazine.
Well, you get friendly enough, people are going to want to eat it.
Other the corn on the cob too. What about you and corn on the cob?
I'm a big fan of corn on the cob. You know what else I like with corn on the cob is I like corn on the cob when you do it on the grill and comes out, and I like slather it with butter, and then I like to put Parmesan cheese and a little bit of Cajun seasoning on it.
So you were running with all that other stuff. And I'm glad to see that you've learned from me today the term slather, because I doubt if you've used that term in the last 10 years. But you just used the term slather on
I'm
butter.
Southern. I'm Southern. Butter. And that's how else do you put butter?
You're not Southern?
Yeah, I'm Southern. This is Texas. You know what? Somebody argued with me because I was telling them I was from Texas. And when I moved to Tennessee, and they go, "You're not from the South." I go, "Technically, I'm more Southern than you are." And they said, No. This is the deep South. That's what they told me. I didn't realize there was a distinction.
You were in Tennessee and the Delta and all that.
Yeah, so apparently I'm not Southern. I'm just from the South. They are from the deep South.
Yeah, you're Southwest, and Memphis. When we're talking about Memphis in the southwest part of Tennessee, so there was a lot of Southwest directionals on building names or school names and stuff, and they finally got away from that because as we were, for the first 50 years of our country, we were the kind of the Pacific coast. The Mississippi River was, so we were the southwest corner of the country at the time, and the 16 states to join the Union, and then Texas and all that and didn't come into late. Oklahoma was the 46th. Think about that.
That didn't surprise me. They're all lazy.
It didn't come into late as you kind of progress. But anyway, so much for South and Southwest. I don't guess we're to dessert yet.
Well, next I was going to ask you your sides, but I think you gave me a whole plethora. You got mashed potatoes, we got green beans, we got fresh snap beans, we got corn on the cob.
But you need to say bird's nest in there too. I'll write that in there, bird's nest.
Well, is that something you want the chef to do for you, or is that something you want to arrange yourself?
No way. They can't touch my food. I do that. They don't even know I'm doing it. They probably would take it off the plate. They saw me mixing it together like that. Don't you think?
Yeah. Well,
you can't do that to me.
I'm just thinking a bird's nest sounds like it's a very personal experience. I would hate to insinuate my version of what a bird's nest would be for you. So I'll leave the bird's nesting up to you.
Well, it ought to be one of my signature things, though. It's very important. It's like red Jello.
The Jimmy Ogel bird's nest. You got it. All right, I got that written down. All right, so let's move on to, like I said earlier, controversially, the best part of the meal is dessert.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not going to a restaurant for dessert. I'm going back to my mom's house and her white cake with chocolate icing. Whatever it is, Betty Crocker white cake mix, and however she did her chocolate icing. And you might call it chocolate chip cookies. We call them Toll House cookies because those chips came out of the Toll House bag. So your mother's homemade chocolate chip cookies cannot be rivaled.
I don't know. My mom tended to burn them to a crisp. They were like those little reflectors you'd see out on the highway. She basically just would take those and put them on a plate.
Yeah. You know, and another thing my mother did real well was tuna fish or tuna salad. We called it tuna fish. And that is one thing I have tried to do up here. The one experiment, I've been here 2.5 years, and I've tried to recreate my mother's tuna fish. And I've talked to my little brother and my older brother and my sister about this, and they told me some of her secret ingredients. And so I've been experimenting with it a little bit. I'm not going to try to do Toll House cookies, her Toll House cookie mix. I'll just do slice and bake or something. But your mother's spaghetti, your mother's tuna, your mother's hash, your hash. So come on. And there are hundreds of great restaurants in Memphis. I've been to many of them, you know, and mainly enjoy the place and the workers, the servers, and the owners as much as the food. You know, it's the atmosphere. And you experienced that when you were in Memphis, I think, in the downtown area. But you went out to some of the suburbs, I'm sure, or other areas of the town to find. Yeah,
I spent a lot of my time in downtown Memphis. I mean, a lot of my time down there. So I tried a lot of the restaurants, and you're right, man. It was that's the one thing I really took away with me from Memphis were the people and I guess the food. Those are my two favorite parts of Memphis. Well, the history. I really enjoyed the history, which ultimately is how I found you, I guess. But yeah. All right. Were you ready for me to read your menu back to you?
Well,
all right. Well, I got to make sure I got it all right. So we're going to start with a Coke, the 7.5 ounce, ice cold, right? All right. In the can. I forgot to say in the can. Yes. And then we're going to do red Jello from the Mark Twain restaurant. Okay.
That's good enough. All
right. And then we're going to do a tossed salad. We're going to have croutons, maybe a little bit of boiled egg, some cheese, some ham, maybe an occasional slice of cucumber with Thousand Island dressing, but it's got to be the right Thousand Island. Then we're going to have some yeasty rolls, some big yeasty rolls, so fresh out of the oven you probably can't even hold them for a second. Then we're going to have room temperature butter. That's always important to me, is room temperature.
Oh, at least. Yeah, you don't need to slice butter ever.
It's perfectly ready to go and it's going to melt. We're also going to, for the main, we're going to have one of your dad's steaks. How was that usually prepared? We talking medium well, medium rare?
Medium well for me.
I like it, especially when it's nice and juicy still.
And the steak sauce was ketchup.
I will set it on the table, but I'll turn my back if you decide to use it.
That's fine. That you and I won't fight over ketchup. That'll be plain for me to have.
All right. Your sides are going to be mashed potatoes, green peas, fresh snapped peas. I'm assuming you're not going to have to do the snapping on those. And then corn on the cob. Lots of corn on the cob. And that's going to comprise the Jimmy Ogel bird's nest, the world famous Jimmy Ogel bird's nest, right?
You can call that as the name for the whole thing. That's good.
For dessert, we're going to have your mom's white cake with chocolate icing. And maybe some Toll House cookies as well. All right.
That's good.
You're happy with all that?
You did good writing this down. I will have to email them to you. Those are all my secret recipes, too.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me in the restaurant today, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Oh, dude, you're a nut. All right. I knew I was going to have so much fun.